Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Dr. Lasker. I'm a consultant radiologist and welcome to my channel. For those of you that don't know, I am a consultant radiologist in the UK and I'm doing this video because I like to answer questions and people have a lot of questions for me.
I have so many questions!
I am going to get through as many as I can, but there was one question that came up that really piqued an interest and really got me thinking for quite a while as to how would I answer that. So here I am doing the best answer I can. Before I do, let's read through that question first. The question is, thank you, you're welcome. Tell us please, how do you actually work? Is it true that radiologists are very bad clinicians? Like they don't care about patient symptoms and history? Actually, I'm really interested in neuroradiology. I'm confused between neurology and radiology. I wonder if you want to get in a neuro research field, would that be easier by choosing neuroradiology or neurology? Thank you so much. So I think there are a few questions here and a few sentiments that I think are applicable to most things, which is why I thought it was a really good question. So thank you very much. And so first of all, you're welcome, like I said. So how do I actually work? That's the first question. So how do I work? At a desk most of the time. I do a bit of ultrasound, so I do injections into bones and joints and elbows and stuff like that because I subspecialize in musculoskeletal radiology. But a lot of my time is actually spent looking at a screen and taking phone calls and dealing with other doctors' concerns and whatever they want with regards to imaging for their patient. It's not quite the quintessential thing that, you know, when you get into medical school or when you go into medical school, you're not going to tell someone, if they say, hey, why do you want to be a doctor? You're not going to be like, oh, I want to sit in a dark room and I don't want to see anyone and I just want to look at a screen all day. It's probably not going to get you in. So if anyone's out there that wants to do radiology from the outset, I would probably refrain from saying that, especially when you're going for the medical school interview, because it doesn't quite fit with the quintessential medical student that they're after. But anyway, so most of my time is actually work from home. Scans get sent to my house over the internet. I report the scans and I send it back. I do some ultrasound. So there's a little bit of a practical aspect to some of what I do. But yeah, in truth, most of my time is actually spent sitting at a desk like this one. And some of you who have been following my channel for quite a while may have noticed that I've got a brand new setup, which I'm going to do a great new video on. I'm really excited to show you about it. It's got like a up-down desk and all this cool stuff. Anyway, yeah, a lot of my time is spent sort of reporting scans from home, but that's because I'm mainly diagnostic radiologist. If I wasn't a diagnostic radiologist, I would be doing interventional radiology, where I would be doing interventional procedures, patients be coming in, I'll be sticking wires and doing all sorts of cool and fancy things, but that doesn't really interest me. I like to be in charge of my own time, and if that doesn't make any sense, you may want to watch a video called Why I Love Radiology, where I do kind of touch upon the idea of time management and how at some point you have to realize that the most important resource that you have is your time, and how much time do you really want to be giving away to other things instead of your family, your friends. Are they very bad clinicians? Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. I mean, it depends on what you think a clinician is. Clinicians, I guess, when you're watching TV and you know, you're seeing things on the internet, you're probably not thinking about a guy like me sitting there clicking away on the screen and messing around with the bone windows and stuff. Don't examine any patients, I don't do any surgeries. So I guess on that aspect, if that's what you think a clinician is, then yeah, I'm a bad clinician, sorry. But I like to think there are different ways of being a clinician, different ways of being a doctor. So I like to think I'm an okay radiologist, or passable at least. And so, you know, I think if you can define a doctor as being someone like me, where you're either looking at pictures or a pathologist who's looking at slides, can they be a good clinician? Depending on your definition, I think they can be a good clinician. But if you're thinking that it's more about, you know, seeing patients, examining patients, coming out diagnosis and treating the patient, then yeah, fair enough. Like, radiologists are probably not the best clinicians. And I do feel like that a lot, actually, when I've got family members who will tell me about their signs and symptoms, and I'll be a bit like, yeah, sorry mate, I can't really help you with that. But it's kind of funny. Yeah, I'm not the kind of doctor that people come for prescriptions and medicines and all that kind of stuff. And I've forgotten a lot of the medical treatments that exist, drug names and all that kind of thing. It just doesn't really interest me anymore, unfortunately. They don't care about patients' symptoms and history.
Who cares?
Yes and no. Yes and no. So patient symptoms can be very important. But what I find doing radiology is that you're very sort of siphoned or filtered towards what matters to you, right? So if you're going to do a scan, you have to know like what parts of the history are relevant to the scan. So let's say you're getting a CT head, it would be relevant to know that the patients have had previous CT heads because they've had previous strokes, previous injuries, previous surgeries, abdomen and pelvises, same kind of thing. If you have a history about what is relevant to the imaging and the thing that the doctors are trying to get to. So there's no point in telling me what kind of dog the patient's got if you're worried about their confusion, unless there is some sort of disease where dogs can cause confusion. Anyway, you see what I mean? Like, it has to be kind of relevant to the scan, but as time's gone on, I have noticed that I don't listen to as much of the history as I used to. Because what ends up happening is that, let's say a surgeon comes in and they start telling me about the weird and wonderful things where they've kind of got this bit of tubing and this bit of tubing and stuck it together and did this kind of sewing and all that kind of stuff. None of it's relevant to me. Like, all I really want to know is, what are you looking for? Are you looking for ischemia, bowel obstruction, or a collection? There are some parts of the history that aren't really relevant to me, and actually, in truth, even when someone is telling me about the clinical history, the age of the patient, I'm really trying to think of the keywords. Those kind of things will kind of help me identify what kind of scan is relevant for that patient. So yeah, you're probably right. I mean, they care and don't care about some of the clinical history. And you're saying that you're quite interested in neuroradiology, and you want to do neuro research. So this actually brings me to a wider topic about medicine and why people do medicine. And so it's very good that someone has decided that they want to do research, because research is important. But a lot of people don't really know why they've come to medicine and what they want from medicine. And I think I've done or will be doing a video on that at some point soon. But the point of this, what I'm trying to say, is that it's good that you identify what you really, really want. I think it is easier to get into neuro research via the radiology route than it is to do it via becoming a neurologist. Mainly because of the lifestyle. Because especially when you're training, you're doing sort of general on-calls, you're doing the MRCPs, you're doing a whole load of stuff that's not quite relevant to what you want to do. And then when you get to the end, you're going to see patients, you're going to have clinics, you're going to have all of that kind of thing. And the training is longer, it's far longer. Whereas if you were to do radiology, you could do your 5 years, and then you can start siphoning yourself towards neuroradiology quite early on, and then you could do a fellowship in neuroradiology. And then once you finish, there is going to be a lot of scope for research, because radiologists aren't actually that good at research most of the time. So if that was something you're inclined to do, then you'd probably be quite good in the field quite quickly, and you would be finished with your training quite soon, and you would have time to be able to do research, because you're not running around, you're not doing things between wards and patients and that kind of thing. It's just a case of reporting the scans, do your research, report some more scans. Okay, so I think I've kind of gone through most things. What do? I look at scans all day. People give me scans over the internet. I report them and send them back most of the time. And some of it can be a little bit interventional, because I do musculoskeletal radiology. Are radiologists bad clinicians? Yeah, it depends on how you define a clinician to be. But yeah, I guess so. We could be defined as bad clinicians because there's only so much that we do. And do we care about the clinical history? Yes and no. We care about some parts of the clinical history that is relevant to what scan that you want. Right. I hope that was useful. Do like and subscribe to my channel. Do check out my channel sponsors, Collective Minds Radiology. Genuinely, it's free. You log in and there's like loads of great cases where you can go through on a proper online DICOM viewer and really check it out. Do check out my podcast, Two Medics podcast. It's a podcast I run with my good friend Tharusha Gurdwardena, and it's kind of just about social media and me just being jokey and pretty truthful, probably too truthful. And also I do have some really good friends at peer.io that I would highly recommend any medical student to look at, because they've got some really good quiz questions that you can do, and I've contributed a fair bit to that. So do check them out. And until the next video, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and keep hitting me up with more questions, people. I got you. All right. Till next time. Bye.